So we knew that the upcoming era of Doctor Who, with Ncuti Gatwa as the 15th Doctor, was going to mark some sort of fresh start, some sort of reboot for the show. But now it looks like it might be even more of a reboot than we first thought. That's because it's been confirmed that upcoming seasons of the show, starting with next year's season, the 2024 season, will revert to a new numbering format. The numbering is going to reset. It's not going to be Series 14 as we first thought, and Series 15, etc. It's going to be Season 1. Now, oh boy, this is a controversial one, a big subject, like a can of worms. I mean, you know, to be honest, this shouldn't be massive news in any other context, in any other sort of setting, that this wouldn't be massive news. But this is Doctor Who. We're Doctor Who fans. We love to have a good old moan about stuff like this. In this video, I'm going to be discussing basically the reasoning why this might have been done, kind of speculating a little bit based on what we've been told, and also just looking at the implications, you know, for the show going forward. You know, what does this mean for not only the next era of the show, but the show as a whole, and how we categorise things now? So this news comes courtesy of SFX magazine. It's an exclusive for them as part of their fantastic new Doctor Who special issue, obviously to mark this month's specials. I haven't managed to get hold of my copy yet, but I've got one in the post. Really looking forward to checking that out because, you know, by all accounts, it's full of exclusive content, interviews, photos, etc. Not only about the specials, but also about stuff like Tales of the TARDIS as well. Just general 60th stuff. So really looking forward to that, and by all means go and track down a copy if you can, either in the shops or the digital copy online. But this is one of the stories they've used to promote that issue with a dedicated article online. Incidentally, the article as well confirms that Russell T Davies is working on not one, not two, not even three, but 4 new seasons of Doctor Who. So obviously next year's season, which we've previously referred to as Series 14, wrongly in fact, now it's become apparent, and then the season after that as well for 2025, which has currently just started filming, you know, literally over the past couple of weeks, and then 2 more seasons, so one for 2026 and one for 2027. So 4 seasons, just like RTD's first era. Presumably they will all star Ncuti Gatwa as the Doctor, though of course it's possible that they won't, that someone will take over at some point, you know, across the era. But yes, a kind of 4-year plan, but by the look of things, you know, hopefully there is some kind of bigger plan at work here, bigger scheme, maybe an overarching storyline that kind of vaguely connects these seasons together, or at the very least some kind of, you know, plan to build things year upon year, to build some finale, I suppose, some big grand finale by the end of the 4th season like we had in the first era with Still on Earth and Journey's End. But yes, it's not just Russell himself using a new numbering season here to refer to these seasons, you know, season 1, 2, 3 and 4. That is how they are going to be presented to us and marketed to us as viewers and as fans as well. So yes, this is the big kind of takeaway from this. A new numbering system, a reset back to season or series. It's not entirely clear at this point, but they've said seasons, let's go with that. Season 1. So yes, an interesting move. A move which some people did actually see coming. You know, some people kind of speculating that something like this might happen to make the show more accessible, because, you know, from their point of view, from the team's point of view, there are a number of things at play here. I mean, most prominently the new Disney Plus deal for the show, you know, launching the show on Disney Plus and to a broader international audience. You know, for that, they're gonna want, you know, to go back to a simpler kind of numbering system, to have their own season 1. They're not gonna want to put it on that platform and call it like Series 14. I suppose that's kind of the thinking there. I mean, with the best one in the world, the new series has now been running for 18 years since Russell brought it back originally in 2005, and we've had 13 brilliant seasons of Doctor Who. But, you know, 13, in the grand scheme of things, isn't a massive number, but in terms of like television seasons and stuff, you know, you have to draw the line somewhere, I guess. You can't just keep going. As much as fans want that to be the case, as much as we want kind of, you know, a consistent system that we can use and make sense of everything in context, you know, from their point of view, trying to appeal to new viewers with a new jumping on point, a new era, you know, to present to new viewers, potential new viewers, a series that is called Series 14 or like Series 27 or 59 or whatever it may be as the years go on. You know, clearly that's not like a viable option. So I can totally understand the argument that actually, let's just take a moment here to reset things and to start again from scratch. At the same time, this does leave things in a slightly strange place overall, which, yes, is something that only fans really care about. In the grand scheme of things, once again, this isn't something that matters at all, really. But yeah, fans with their fan brains are kind of going to go, okay, so season 1, well, we've had series 1 in 2005 with Chris Eccleston, obviously, and then we had the original first series, the original season 1 back in 1963 and 64 with William Hartnell as the first Doctor. So we've now got season 1 from the 60s, series 1 from 2005, and then another season 1, presumably, because that does appear to be what they're going to call it, in 2024. So in terms of how we talk about these seasons, how we refer to them, how we delineate between them, it's not straightforward at all, and this does kind of add extra complications there. Like I say, it's not the biggest problem in the world right now, but yeah, it's still nevertheless a logistical challenge there. Like if someone's talking about season 1 of Doctor Who, are they referring to the 60s season or the 2024 season, without kind of using the year it was broadcasting, I guess, to actually literally pin it down? You just don't know. And so yeah, it's a bit of a headache from that point of view, and I can see kind of going forward as well that fans are not going to take too kindly to this. I think already people have not really been a massive fan of this change, and I suppose it's something that we will kind of get eased into and hopefully will come around to eventually. It's not a straightforward situation or an easy situation by any means, but then at the end of the day, that is basically just what Doctor Who is, isn't it? It's this big, massive, sprawling show which has become far bigger than it was ever envisaged to be, and it has all these varied eras within it, for each Doctor, all these different eras that are each kind of standalone, but also part of this bigger whole, and each one is a jumping on point, in its own way. In an ideal world, you would have a system whereby each Doctor's era can start again from scratch. Each Doctor's first season can be season 1. And that way, it would never be off-putting to new viewers, because there would always be this reset. Like with Jodie Whittaker, for example, she wouldn't start with series 11, she'd start with series or season 1, or with Capaldi, or with Smith. I think with Smith, actually, incidentally, for the 11th Doctor, they did actually consider doing something very similar to this, and I think in internal documentation and stuff for series 5, they did refer to it as season 1, and they very nearly referred to it as such as well in terms of how it was marketed. So this certainly isn't the first time that something like this has happened or been considered, and of course the big elephant in the room as well is with the return of the series in 2005, when the numbering didn't continue on from the classic series. It wasn't season 27, 28, 29, etc. It was series 1, series 2, series 3. And obviously in that case, it was a little bit more straightforward, because you could at least delineate between the seasons of classic Doctor Who and the series of New Who, the season series distinction there, which, yes, is just like a semantic thing, really, and tell someone outside Doctor Who circles that is a thing that exists, and they'll kind of look at you and think, what the heck are you talking about? Like, that's completely bonkers. Those two words mean the same thing. But no, in a Doctor Who context, they do mean very different things. They refer to Classic Who and New Who. And now we have a situation where, once again, the season term is making a comeback, but the numbering is also resetting. So, yes, on the whole, I can see why they have done this. It does make a certain sort of sense from their point of view, and from Disney Plus's point of view as well. But at the same time, the Doctor Who fan brain part of me is kind of thinking, oh gosh, like, was this really necessary? I mean, I suppose at some point in the future they would have done something like this anyway. It was sort of inevitable, I suppose, but whether it was now or by the time of series 20 or 30, they wouldn't have just kept going into the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, hundreds, like series 147 or something. That was just never going to be a possibility. It makes sense from a marketing point of view to brand this as something new. It's just a shame about the complications that it brings with it, and yes, I mean, I hope there is some kind of solution. Perhaps the thing we do is we kind of just call this 15th Doctor Season 1, and we call, the old Season 1 of Classic Who, or Season 1 of the first Doctor. I mean, perhaps that's the system we should use going forward, a bit like the US versions of the collection Blu-ray box sets, where they kind of call it like the 6th Doctor Season 1, the 4th Doctor Season 1. They don't call the final season of Classic Who Season 26, they call it the 7th Doctor Season 3. So perhaps that's the best system to use going forward. I don't know. I mean, clearly there's going to be some period of transition here as we work these things out, and hopefully this is done in a way that doesn't make things any more complicated than they need to be. But yes, I think I've rambled on just about long enough about all of this. I've kind of presented both sides of the argument here, I think. But do let me know, in the comments below what your views are on this, your thoughts, your opinions, whether you feel strongly about it either way or not. Maybe you're more kind of indifferent about the whole thing, or alternatively, maybe you really vociferously think that they shouldn't have done this, or maybe you think that they should. If you have enjoyed this video, please do leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you're new for more stuff like this in the future. But otherwise, until the next one, thank you so much for watching, and goodbye for now.